Autism Society of Iowa, and I just want to welcome everybody. I want to let you know that everybody is muted at this time. We'll unmute at the end for questions, but if you have a question during the presentation, just put it in the chat room and I'll be monitoring that for Sue as she presents. So go ahead, Sue.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm glad that you're able to join us today. It's a little strange for me to do this Zoom. As my friend Jan just told me, she's very impressed that I could do it, but I couldn't have done it without Chris and Aaron. It took us quite a few practice sessions to get me up and going, but here we are today. And as I was getting ready this morning and thinking about doing this on Zoom, I guess the one thing I love Zoom, but the only thing I don't like is that I can see myself all the time. And that made me think of a story of one young man that I worked with a few years ago, who when I went in to visit with him, he looked at me and he said, did you look in the mirror this morning before you came to school? And I said, I did, but I'm thinking in my head, well, I had lunch, I must have spilled something. And I said, well, is there a problem? And he looks at me and with the truth and honesty, he said, you've got loose skin under your neck. And I said, yeah, I know that. You know, when you get older, that happens. And so I'm thinking this morning, I got to find something that can cover up my neck. So this is what I came up with. So anyway, that's my story to start the day. Chris and Aaron and I and a few other people have been talking about how to get resources out to parents during this difficult time. And so we came up with this idea to do a Zoom presentation. And we'll see how it goes, and we'll see if there's a request for more information, and just start. So I'm going to show you a few resources to begin with. And these are ones that I have gone to over the past 40 years of working in the field. The Indiana Resource Center, and the links are on here, and this video is going to be up on YouTube, right, Chris?
Yes.
Yes. So you can see it there later on, or if you have to leave early today, you can go back and finish the video. So the Indiana Resource Center is a valuable site for many types of visual supports and many great articles, and I'll be referring to a few of those resources as I hit the resources about that they came from IRC. The Autism Society of America has an article up right now about helping families with the COVID-19. Autism Internet Modules is a site that you can go to if you want to learn more about the evidence-based practices that we're talking today. If you want to learn about the 5-point scale, or you want to learn about preschool play, they have modules on all those different areas. You can log in, it's free, and you can you take a little tutorial to start with, a little pre-test, and then you go through and a series of different slides and lectures, and then you get a lot of good information there. Do to Learn is another website that you can, most of it is free, and you can go in and get a lot of pictures for download to develop some of the materials that we're going to talk about today. They have something called the Emotion Wheel, which is a really good resource for any age, adults especially. And you can click on a face and they can show the emotion, and they define it, and they talk about what it feels like. It's just a fantastic resource. A Day in Your Shoes is another good place to go to for free printable visual materials for home and daily routines, so you don't have to be drawing those or thinking about those. But you can also go to images on Google and pull down a lot of great pictures there. The Child Mind Institute is a resource that I found when I was getting ready to do this presentation, and they have a lot of information how to support children during the coronavirus outbreak. The science experiments that we'll talk about came from those 2 websites down there. There's a lot of cool things on there, you guys, and I've sent them to my grandsons, and it's good for everybody. Actually, everything we're going to talk about can help everybody. The last one on this sheet is Welcome to Carol's Club. So Carol Gray came out a couple of weeks ago, and she's got this new Carol's Club on. It's free. She has a lot of social stories about COVID-19 to help families, and she has more resources on there that she's put out. finally, and I didn't get this on the sheet, is Carrie Dunburn was supposed to come to speak to our group here in Iowa City during April. It was last Saturday. And she sent me an email that said she was thinking about us. And she also sent along with it a little update version of her book on When My Worries Get Too Big. And she's done a new version. She's going to put it on YouTube. She's reading the story on the link that she sent me, and it's all about children and how they're worrying about what's going on in the world right now, and it's really a fantastic resource. So that will be on our website. Chris, did we put that out yet?
We have not, but people are sharing their email addresses in the chat room, and then I will send out this information to them afterwards.
Good. All right. So later on, if you have any
ideas. It will also be on YouTube, link to it, yeah.
Right, yeah. But she sent it to us first, so we're that was very kind of her. That's the type of person she is, so we're thankful for that. So I split this talk today into several different areas. We initially started because people were calling in questions about how do I teach my kids at home? I mean, this is something that's coming up for everybody. And so we're going to look at some traditional resources. All of the things that we're going to talk about today are evidence-based practices. And if you go to the Autism Society of America, or you go to the internet modules that I talked about, they'll refer to the evidence-based practices. These are strategies and resources that we know work with children with autism, and those are the ones that we focus on using with our students. So based on the structured teaching, or the TEACH model that many of you may be aware of, we're going to start with just setting up a personal workspace at home. So there's a picture where someone has taken a small table and just set it up so that it's in a location with fewest distractions, and the work from left to right. And actually that's how I'm working at my desk today, kind of moving things across as I go. The bucket on the end of the side of the table there is for them to put their finished work in. It can be there, or it can be another spot in your house that you have them take it to, just so they know there's a place that it's done, and that people are going to check that container or that folder or whatever for their work, and so they know that what they're doing is something that is purposeful. There's also a place, you should also have a place for materials, and I made this checklist. So these are work materials checklists that you could have posted in that area. So pencil, paper, folders, all those kinds of things, days of the week that you're going to work, and have the student or a child go through, I'm going to say student a lot because I'm used to talking to the teachers, have this child go through there and look and check in his space every day to see if he has those objects or the materials to use. And it's one way to teach organization skills and just getting ready. I would every so often remove one of those things that he's going to need to work with, or she's going to need to work with, and then have them recognize that and have them go themselves or ask you for that so they can put it in their area. So that's just another way. It's part of the whole work system. It's the work system that we're really teaching in structured teaching, so that any work can go in there, not just schoolwork, and we'll see that as we go along, but it's just the structure of the system. And we'll be talking about what structure can do for you later on in the lecture. As we move on to the next part, we're going to be talking about different schedules that are out there. So this is the first, next, then schedule. And it's a very simple one that tells students that this is what we're going to do first. Many of us have just worked with this very simple one called the first then schedule, whoops, just on a piece of paper. This is one I found as I was looking for information. So first we're going to do this, and next, and then that's when the reward is, that's when the break is. And so children or students have time to process what's going to be happening. That's one type of schedule. Another type of schedule for students that need really concrete information. And a schedule is going to tell people where they're going. It's going to give you that information about what your day is going to look like. And so on these schedules, people have developed different types. She's got a tactile real schedule, representative tactile, representative pairing with photos. It's one that sort of steps up as the student grows. But the toilet paper tubes, that's the time to go to the bathroom. And we learned, I know Janet, we did this when we were teach. Leave a piece of toilet paper on there. I know toilet paper is really valuable right now, but that signifies that that's what you're going to be doing when you go to the bathroom. There's a ball that signifies exercise. When we used to take kids outside for a walk during our programs, we would have a stick or a leaf on there to signify going outside. So you can get pretty creative with these schedules if this is the level that your child needs. The next schedule we're going to look at is one that I just kind of whipped out to show people that it doesn't have to be fancy or fancy pictures. I pulled these off of Bing or Google Docs or Google Images, put check marks. I put a red slash through number 5 because the work is done, and then it's iPad time. So, and I put the cat stretching picture for exercise because many people that I know have cats or animals, and so that's just kind of a fun way to incorporate. If your child really likes cats, that's just a fun way to put their interest level into a schedule for them. This is for older students or students that can read, and it's a really simple schedule. So wake up, you would have wake up, school starts, movement break. Those are the things you'd have on the schedule, and explaining afterwards what is happening during that time. And then I really like down below where they had the school end, reward break, go on social media, talk with friends. They have exercise, but then at 4 o'clock they have free time, but it's a no screen break, and it's right there in black and white. So they know that coming up, that's a time that they can have some free time, but you're asking them to do that with other things other than screen time. Screen time's it's always difficult how to monitor screen time, but during this COVID-19, I'm gonna say episode in our lives, that it's getting even more difficult. So this is one way to help with that. Then the free time below, screens are allowed, and then get ready for bed. So that is a written schedule. Any of these schedules can be adjusted to whatever your child needs, your child's needs are. There's a resource from the Indiana Autism Resource Center that you can get a link into. They have a lot of different pictures of examples of different schedules, and they have links to that you can click on and print some of these schedules out. Next, we're going to talk, and this again is just part of the whole structured teaching, the teach system, the work system. So many people have said, how do I get my kids to do their work? So we have the physical structure set up, we have the place for them to do their work. Now, how do we get that done? And when we talk about work systems, when we've done teach trainings, we talk about how they need to tell the child or the student or the adult, what am I supposed to do? And how much, how many, and what do I do when I'm finished, and what's next? So a work system tries to takes in all those components to make it clear to students. So here is one work system that you can do at home. And it's simply folders. You put to work in folders, which are in the back of that desk area. And you put the task list on the table. So this one says, Stephen, please do the purple folder. Stephen picks up the purple folder and takes out the work that's inside of there. This could be something that says do 5 math problems. It could say pick up your room. It could say read for 10 minutes. You can interchange what's in those folders, and it's a really simple one to be able to work with at home for the older students, or students that can read. They'll need to understand their colors so they can follow along with that, but it's a nice system to use at home, because you can incorporate not just schoolwork in it, you can incorporate other tasks, folding washcloths, whatever. This work system, and this is set up in a schoolroom. So this is set up for a student that's doing more hands-on tasks like puzzles, matching activities, putting together things that require something a little larger than a folder to put the work into. So the tubs are over here on their desk. They have colored circles, and they're simply taking that, matching that to that tub up there. Then they take their work out, do it here, and then they put it down here in the done area. So science experiments, household chores like folding washcloths, this is something that you can put into their work system. You can blend the work systems too. You can have a tub and a folder work system. You can, in the folder, it would say, get out the purple tub or whatever. So you can blend these systems to work on whatever your child needs. Then we're going to take a look at just some job and task lists which go along with the work systems. So this is one that we have used in the past. It's just my to-do list. And so this can be used throughout the day. There's just many students will go, especially in the home situation, it's different. So this is kind of a really general one. Get dressed, eat breakfast, red folder work. They would know that was in their school area. 20 jumping jacks, blue folder work. And then at the bottom, because we'll talk about incentives later on, you need to have an incentive. You need to have that reward. None of us go to our jobs for free. So if I'm done with those tasks by 10:30, I can have 15 minutes of whatever their preferred activity is they like. For this child, it was Legos. It could be, you try to steer away maybe from the iPad time, but if that's the really preferred one, then you have a way to monitor how much time they're using. This is another simple one that many of you might have seen. The AEA printed off pads of these to hand out to teachers, and it's already there. You can just put in Sue's jobs. There's little check marks, write what they are, and when I finish, I can. It's telling you what you need to do, how many you need to do, and when you're finished, all the boxes are checked, and then when I'm finished, it tells you that what I can do. Moving on to one other type of work system, this choice board is giving choices anytime throughout the day, no matter if it's work or whatever, is an excellent strategy. It promotes independence for children. Many of our students or children have trouble making a choice because they're always worried about if I'm going to make the right choice or not. So this gives them practice at doing that, and gives child a sense of control, which may reduce their meltdowns that are happening throughout your day. And I'm going to try, here's a picture of it, just posted what's happening. They posted it on the refrigerator, my morning work. So then this is what's happening in the morning. These are magnets down here, and the child gets to choose what they want to do first. So they would just take the magnet and put it on that one and do 20 minutes of math. And they take the magnet and put it on the next one and do whatever activity. So it's giving them some control over their day and ways to move a little more smoothly throughout that day. I'm going to click back here. So if you go to that Indiana resource site, it will show you, it has a copy of the whole board and some information about how to work on running that. Next, I threw this one in. So a few years ago, we had a young second grade girl that I worked with, and exercise really helped to have her, it helped her to have a better day. It just calmed her body down, and she was able to handle everything that came upon her with a lot more ease. So we created an exercise circuit for her at school, and she helped with this. She picked things that she wanted to do: 20 bounces on the exercise ball, push off the wall 10 times, do 15 stretches with TheraBand. And I think later on she added one of those fabrics stretch things that you get inside and push your arms around. She really liked that. And then walk around the building. And here again is a choice. I can walk around the building 1 or 2 times today, and giving her that choice over how she was feeling and how much time she needed to be able to do that. So this is something that a lot of us are trying to do at home, is exercise. I need to make one of these up for myself, I think. But we need to we need that exercise, and kids need that exercise, because that really does help us with our anxiety. It helps us to calm down. It helps us with our weight control, a lot of things. So if you can make a fun exercise circuit, and you can keep a chart on this or a checkoff list of whatever you, whichever way you want to go. I just got a text from my grandson that he's put his cat on an exercise circuit on the walking treadmill downstairs. I'm not sure why, but everyone's doing exercise right now. Now we're gonna go a little bit more into work task examples. And these are just examples of things that you could put into the work system to help your children at home. Just some ideas, and hopefully you can bounce off of some of these and do some of your own creative ideas. So this is one that's fun, and it helps with visual clarity. It helps with the sensory kind of things. It helps matching. It's a lot of different things. So in that tub is a bunch of beans, and this could be anything that you have. Rice would work at home. Whatever you can get on Amazon right now probably is going to be what you're going to use. So in the back tray, there's pictures of different dinosaurs, and this again is, or different animals, and this again is using the child's interest area. You can put up whatever. If your child is into octonauts, if you can find octonauts, put them up there and hide them in the beans, and they pick them out and match them up to this picture. If your child is into dinosaurs, whatever they're into, they could match up there. If they're into nuts and bolts, you could do that, match those up there. It's using your kind of imagination and their interest area to make this a fun task. And also it takes some time, so it's going to give it's a task that can become independent pretty quickly, and then you have some time to do what you would like to do. And that sack in the back is just another one that they've used, that they put up there. And I think they aren't gummy worms. They're worms you use, like rubber worms for fishing, and they're all different colors. So they just have a matching task back there with it. But it's also another sensory stimulation with the stickiness that helps with that area. Here's a math task. And when you're doing work tasks, you want to provide as much visual clarity as you can. All throughout this talk today, you'll hear me talk about visual, visual, visual. And many times I've heard from teachers and parents is that, but I can tell them what to do and they can do it. Yeah, but we're not really working on independence then, because you have to be there to tell them. So if you're making your task clear enough, they'll be able to do this independently. And that's what we're striving for. And that's what they would also like to be striving for. So on this worksheet, it's simply highlighting the direction. So right away, Maxwell's drawn to what he needs to do. And you can see that he was capable of doing this. And another really smart thing this teacher did was space out those problems, because if you can see Maxwell's handwriting, he still has quite large numbers that he's using. So she gave him plenty of space to work on that. And she also gave him 6 problems. She didn't give him a sheet of 20 problems, because she can tell in this period of time that he's doing pretty well with this. He only missed 1 out of 6. And so, and he was able to recognize that and circle it. And then down below, it says, how hard was the work? Well, many of our kids, before they start a task, and you spend about 30 to 40 minutes hearing them moan about how long it's going to take or how difficult it is. And then when they get done, they'll say, well, it wasn't that hard. So here's a nice way to keep a record that how hard was the work, and he circled a 2 on a scale where 1 is the easiest. And so if you keep this, then the next time you have something come up and you have this, say, hey, look at this last time. It wasn't that difficult last time. Do you remember that? And then down below is a way during school to help promote communication and help promote social skills. The teacher had asked him to, or ask Maxwell to go ask Kaya to check his work. So promoting that interaction with peers, but at home you can, it's another way to promote communication and social interaction skills, having him go ask another family member to check his work. Just a way to keep things, help keep kids using their communication skills. Here is another example, and writing is probably the one that I would get, that I got the most referrals on, that teachers needed help to help students with. Writing is very difficult, not for all of our individuals, but for many individuals. So this is from a book called I Hate to Write. And that's not on our reference list either, but it's an excellent, you can go to the website, and it's a resource book that I use quite a bit. It has a lot of different ideas in there and a lot of suggestions like this. So they made a very clear assignment chart. So what do I do? And there's the start button. There's where they start. They're going to write a paragraph about littering. That's what they're going to have to do. How much do I have to do? Write 6 sentences. Use capital letters and punctuation, and each sentence must have 1 adjective. So these are things that they've learned in the past, and that they know, that it has to be included into their paragraph about littering. So she gave them the topic, so we don't spend hours trying to figure out what to write about. She gave them specific details about what they need to have, and then what do you do when you're finished? And so I typed in there, give it finished paragraph to the parent, and then you can work on the computer for 20 minutes. But you can type in there whatever you need to do, whatever fits your situation at home. This is another one from the book I Hate to Write, and it's an assignment for students that are working maybe at a little bit higher level. This could even be high school, that write an assignment about someone that made a significant impact on scientific thought. So they're given 4 choices up there. You know your own child. You know how many choices are going to be appropriate. 4 might be a lot. It might still take some time to figure it out. 2 might be enough. And then they give the starter sentences, and at the end it says, write at least 5 paragraphs about this scientist on a separate piece of paper, and use these sentences for your first paragraph. So you've already got the start. Oftentimes it's just the start, getting going on something. It's like that for everybody. It was like that for me when I was preparing for this presentation today. It's just the start. You think about it, and you think about it, and you think about it, and you just need to get something that gets you off and helps you to get started. So this is a very good tool for that. And there's a lot more examples on in that book. So that's it's a tool to look for. So visual tools, what we've been talking about all this time. Why do we talk about this so much? Why do I say write it down? Why do I say show pictures or objects? Because what they do for you, and what they do for your child, is they promote understanding. Most of us do better when we see something being done. A few years ago, I was learning how to kayak, and I was zigzagging all over the lake and not doing well. I followed my own advice, went up and found a YouTube video on kayaking, watched what they were doing correctly that I wasn't, and the next time I went out, I was able to go smoothly through the lake. So they're for everybody. So promote understanding. They reduce anxiety. If you have pictures, or you have a clear understanding of what you're going to do, you're not going to worry about it so much. And because your anxiety is reduced, they reduce that unexpected behavior, those meltdowns that are happening. Because people or students know what they know what's what. They know what's going to happen, or they have an idea of what's going to happen. They increase communication because they have a visual tool out there to help them. Years and years ago, when this is back when I was a speech pathologist, and I was working with a student, in English as a second language student, and the word came up, I think the word was dessert. And he looked at me and he goes, I don't have a picture in my brain for that. And I didn't have a picture out to show him what a dessert was, just assuming that he would know that. So that's always stuck with me. And that's been like 35 years ago. We need pictures in our brains to really help us understand and be able to communicate about things. They increase independence. If I have a list of what I need to do, or if I have a picture of what I need to do, I don't need somebody standing there by me to help me every single second. So if you have your child at home, and this goes for this, these visual tools are good for all of us. Give them a list, have them check it off. Give them pictures so they understand what's going to happen. And I didn't put this in my lecture, but one that we've used many times is parents want their child to clean their rooms. So take a picture of the room when it's clean so they see what it looks like, and then, not to make it too overwhelming, cut the picture in thirds and give them the first half of the picture of their bedroom, have them make it look like that. When that's done, give them the middle part and then the third part. So break it down for them in manageable ways that they can to accomplish that. And if you're doing things by yourself, it increases your self-esteem. Learning how to do this PowerPoint on Zoom did boost my self-esteem up quite a bit, because this is something that I'm just not a tech person. I usually have students at school that I work with, and they were my tech helpers all the time. So we're all learning new things during this time, and I think that when you can do something on your own and not have a person helping you, it does give you a sense of accomplishment. And that's what when you have a sense of accomplishment, you're oftentimes ready to do other new things. Now we're moving on. We're going to talk a little bit about different visual tools. So the pause card, and if you've heard me talk before or other people talk, the pause card is something that came out, I don't even know how many years ago now. It's not something I thought of, and I'm not even sure who did think of it. But when we tell someone to stop something, or when we tell someone just abruptly that the activity is done, that often will cause meltdowns for our students that we're working with, and or children that we're working with, because their brains haven't prepared for that to happen. Children know the pause sign, and the pause sign, well, I had one here. The pause sign could just be a little bit of card with, or a little card with the pause signals on it, because they've learned it from video games. They've learned it from TV. When you go through the line at Chick-fil-A, when you get to a certain point, there's a pause there. So what it signifies is that this activity isn't over and never going to come back in my life. This activity is on pause. It's on wait. I can go do what I'm being asked to do, and I can still come back, and it's still there. And it's been magic for a lot of our kids in the schools that we worked with, because they have a sense, the anxiety isn't there. They know that it's going to return. And so this is something that you can use for when kids are doing work. You can use it when they're watching a TV, give them another visual clue. You can use it for a lot of different areas in your life. So I would highly recommend this. Is one thing that is easy to make. You can go on images, you can print off a whole page of pause symbols and use. And I don't have one handy, but just simple little card like that. The next one I'm going to talk about, another great tool, these are timer strips. And so oftentimes we're saying to our children, just a minute, or just give me a few more minutes, or just give me 3 more minutes, or in 10 minutes we're going to do it. But many the sense of time is so difficult for young children or any children to really process. So someone came up with this idea to make timer strips. And the one I'm going to show you here. So how this works is, excuse me, and you don't have to have this, you don't have to have Velcro, you don't have to have them laminated, but a laminating machine and Velcro are useful tools if you like to purchase something during this COVID-19 time from Amazon. So you're in control of the time. So you're going to pull this off. This one is nicely coated with green, yellow, caution, we're getting towards the end, and red, we're going to be stopping. So you just pull off the side, put them on the back and say 4 more, or show it to them. Some of the children I worked with, they didn't even need, they could hear the Velcro going, they could count it. They knew when the time was coming up. The transitions, the smoothness of transitions with this simple tool has been remarkable. So this one that we printed off, you can link it to their interest area. There was one student that really liked dinosaurs, so we made a dinosaur one. The check mark meant on this one, we know that we're going to get ready to go to bed. But on the check mark, that was taking them back to where their schedule was. That's something we talk about, the transition cue, a lot in the school setting. I didn't include that on this lecture here because you're at home and it's just different. And so I think to have a picture of what's next is probably going to be a better choice. This one was for a young man I worked with recently when I did a subbing job this fall. So he was really into tigers. This one, I don't have any Velcro on this. I just have paper clips and a strip, and we just take the tigers off and move them on, down. It helps to change up these timer strips once in a while. The hearts were doing during February for Valentine's Day. So they're very simple to make and very effective. You are in control of the time now. So don't hand this to your child because they'll start timing you on things, because I've had this happen before. So if you have more questions about this at the end, we can talk about that. Next on our little agenda here as I move down, we're going to talk about teaching change, because right now in the world there is so much change, and the change that's happening daily in your homes, everything's different. And so when you teach change, you're teaching, it helps to increase children's flexibility, because we know that things aren't always going to go this way we think they're going to go. It reduces anxiety, which reduces those meltdowns that are happening, and it also helps with those transition periods. So when there's a change on their schedule, they know that something different is going to happen. There's a short little explanation there about how to teach change. And if you go to the Indiana resource site, the link down there, it's going to give you a whole article on teaching change and how you can do it efficiently. And I think that this is something that is very important for kids to learn, because our life is going to be full of a lot of changes in the next few years. And so if we can work on this now at home, in the home setting, it's going to help us in the long run in many different areas. There's a person that first, I guess she was the one who taught us about this, and she has 3 sons with autism. She kept one of these change symbols in her car. She kept a lot of them around her house. And one day she went to the swimming pool, and they were all excited about going to the swimming pool because it was summer and it was hot. And when they got there, the pool was closed for repair. So she whipped out a change signal and said, or showed them, no swimming pool, we're going to get ice cream. So that was a neutral change. As if you look at you teach a preferred change, like no math today, but instead computer, or we're not going to do work today, we're going to watch a movie at home, whatever that preferred. So you teach that change in a positive way first, then the neutral change like she did, that instead of swimming, we're going to get ice cream. And then finally you go to where we're getting down to the non-preferred change. This is when things are tough tougher for kids to make that change. But it's a gradual progression, and it's not going to happen in one day. It's going to take several days. You want to make sure at each level that they're ready accepting that change. We also want to talk about video modeling. So video modeling is an evidence-based prompting strategy that can be used to increase positive behaviors. And many years ago, before video modeling, and Scott Bellini is the individual who developed this and has a lot of has a book out about it and helps people to learn about it. You can check him out on the internet. Is that you watch an activity of someone doing something, riding a bike, playing trains, hitting a baseball, and it's kayaking, paddling a kayak down the river, and then you try it yourself. And so the power that it gives, kids like to watch videos more than us telling them or writing it down. We used to, when we did teach training before video modeling, I remember one time we were going to make Rice Krispie bars treats, and so we wrote out the visual directions, and I think there were 28 steps to making Rice Krispie treats. But when video modeling came along, we just video modeled it in about a 15-second segment, 15-second, 20-second segment, and people could watch it. And the beauty of it is you can watch it over and over and over again. We have students that when they're transitioning to a new building, and this might be something to think about when school does start up again, especially if your son or daughter is going from elementary to a middle school or junior high setting, or junior high, middle school to high school, that we could do a video model of the new setting that they're going into, how they get to their locker, how did they get to their classes. If you're going, as things improve and people can start moving around a little bit more, when you're going to you want to try out a new restaurant or a new place, oftentimes there's a lot of resistance for kids to do something new. So if you can just use your phone and take a little video of what the place looks like and who might be there or what it looks like inside, it's just a really good visual way to help prepare someone to do something new and to lessen their anxiety. Social stories and social narratives have been around for as long as I've been working in the field of autism. There are some references down there, Carol Gray's social stories that we talked about earlier. And like I said, she has a lot of things in COVID-19 right now. Indiana Resource has a lot of visuals and social stories and COVID-19 information. Kansas ASD has a lot, and you're able to edit many of them and just put in your own information to fit your situation. And I'm going to show you a few examples. So this is one from the Autism Resource Center, and it's talking about I miss my friends at school. So it's written really for all levels. I mean, they've included pictures just to help a little bit with the understanding, but the information that's getting across is important for everybody. So that's just, and it's very quick. It can be reread several times, and it just gives the child the information they need to know, and that they're not the only ones that are going through this. This one is great for the learning gets up and going. This coming in from the schools. Students in high school and middle school are using Chromebooks. It talks about using the Chromebooks, again, from the Indiana Resource Center, and what your teacher, if the teachers are connecting with students. So you just, again, use this model and attach it or change it as you need for your own direction. This one is from Kansas ASD, and I just, of course, had to put one in about pooping because that's something maybe people are trying to teach during this time. So if you go to this website, it's I don't know if I can pull this up right now. We're gonna see if it could open the link. Oh man, doing pretty good today on all this. So scanning down, as I scan down, you can see all the stories that are out there today are on this link page. And here's the one, sometimes I poop. So I'll just give you hopefully works here. So just scanning down, they've used pictures. Sometimes I have to go poop. When I have to poop, I go to mom and say poop. And never surrender, it says on there. When I have to poop, I sit on the toilet and push. When I poop on the toilet, I get candy or whatever reward you see. And pooping on the toilet is fun. So it's as simple as that. Sometimes you use pictures of other children. Sometimes you use pictures of your own child. Now here's the tricky part. To get back to where I was. Bear with me, because this is the part I knew I was going to have trouble with. Okay, I did it. All right, the next strategy we're going to talk about is the iceberg strategy. Now, this is one I sort of adapted myself. We in the field of autism talk about the behavior icebergs. So what's above is what we see: tantruming, running away, kicking, biting. Those are the behaviors. But underneath, we know there's a lot going on down here below that are causing those behaviors. So I started using just a really, this is not a fancy model at all. This is an example that I worked with a student in high school, a very brilliant young woman. And I just drew, of course, I'm not great on drawing. So there's the water and here's my iceberg. And I wrote down things that teachers had told me or that we saw, like getting distracted, talking in math, her writing seemed to cause problems. She took the pencil from me or the pen and she wrote down working in groups and training and work late. And then she went below the iceberg. And I said, well, what is underneath? What's inside that's causing all that? And she wrote, it's hard to work in a group when my group wants to slack off, or I think out loud, so it's hard to work in a group. I get confused about how to structure my paper. I get anxious. It's hard to get my thoughts down on paper, and I procrastinate because of that. So now, here's the behaviors, but now we have an idea of what's causing those behaviors or what's happening, and we can work on those. So we're addressing not just the behaviors up here, but really the underlying cause. And that's proved to be very effective with a lot of students, because now we're getting to that underneath part. And I've used this on quite a few different students in different ages, and it seems to be pretty effective. Many kids in the with autism know about the Titanic, or they understand about icebergs, and so they know that it's inside or underneath that's really the big problem. So incentives, and we talked about that a little bit earlier. So if you link the incentive to the interest and it's something that's accessible and cost effective, those are three things to remember when you're trying to figure out what that reward's going to be. A lot of our kids like trains, they like toilets, weather, Star Wars, dinosaurs. So if you figure out a way, I'm going to show you a couple of things that you can do with it. So here is a student that liked dinosaurs. So I copied a dinosaur puzzle off of images, cut it up in 4 pieces, wrote down the things that that child needed to do on in his work system, and as he did it, he would piece together that dinosaur, put the puzzle together, and then when the dinosaur was done, then he could go play with his dinosaurs or watch 10 minutes of a dinosaur movie or whatever he chose to do. Another one, and gold mining. So I kept this little bag here for 25 years because I knew I would use it again sometime. So way back when, I had a student and his dad, a student with autism, and he really got into gold mining. And he and his dad would go panning for gold. I think that, I don't know where they went exactly, but he did bring me a fleck of gold one time. So for him that year, what worked was I took pea gravel. So here's my pea gravel. Right, there's a piece of it. I took pea gravel, sprayed it from my backyard, sprayed it with gold, and found this little pouch, like a miner's pouch, and gave it to the teacher. And for every assignment that was done or what he needed to do, he got a nugget of gold. That worked very well. It didn't work. These don't work forever. You have to keep them fresh. And just like for us, we like pay raises and they like different things, but this gold mining one. So just taking your child's interest and trying to figure out how to best meet that and use that to your advantage. Here's another way to do it. So this child really likes the iPad. So what if he did 5 problems of math, he got the I and he put it down. It's kind of like playing the old game of, we don't call it hangman anymore, but that's similar to what we're doing here. So 5 problems, he got the I, read for 10 minutes, he gets the P, 10 jumping jacks, he gets an A, hang up 3 shirts, he gets a D, and there's his 10 minutes or however many minutes of iPad time. So you incorporated education on here, you incorporated exercise and a life skill in that short little period of time with a reward. So we've talked a lot about the typical traditional, more structured kind of learning. We're going to talk about naturalistic learnings, and that is also an evidence-based practice that you can look up on the internet modules. So what do natural learning opportunities do for children? Well, they teach all of these things. They teach turn taking, following directions, understanding and following rules. They teach focusing, communication, social, how to win and lose, memory, independence, math, reading, science, and history. So unbeknownst to all of you, you're teaching every day, even if you're not teaching what the school is sending home or what they've learned in school. You're teaching a lot of life skill things that are most important for these to have satisfying lives. And so I just want to say right now that many of you are doing many of these things out there already. We're just sort of like highlighting what you're doing and giving you ideas about how to do additional things. Here are some examples. So Candyland, Chutes and Ladders, Sequence, Monopoly, cards. One time I was at an after-school program and they had, give me a minute here, there they are. They had children playing on the floor with decks of cards, and which was a fun game, but what they were doing were math facts. So each child had a pile of cards turned over, and when they turned the cards over, whatever the sum was, they were doing addition, then the first person to say 10 got those cards. It's sort of like playing the old game of war, but they were doing math facts. So you could do it for multiplication, you could do it for addition, you could do it for subtraction. It's just a fun way to practice on those math facts. I had to throw this one in there, the grand prize game, because this is something that I just taught to my youngest grandchildren down in Missouri. And it's a game that is fun for everybody. It came off the old Bozo show that many of our kids, well, Jan's kids and my kids watched years ago. And for kids who like to put in and for throwing balls, you just line up the buckets and they try to put the ball in the bucket. Or if you don't have a ball, you can do rolled up socks, which is a little softer than throwing that. But people, the whole family can play with it. You've got the supplies at home. It's just a different activity, and you're still teaching there. You can say, what bucket did you get it in? I got it in the first bucket, or I got it in the 5th bucket. So you're teaching as long as you're playing at the same time. Scavenger hunt, you can give the kids a sack and say, and you can say or write it down better, use a visual, make a list of things for them to look for, things that you use to eat. And for the younger children, you can put pictures of forks and spoons or whatever, soft things that start with B to work on letter recognition. And it's just endless. And that you can say, find me 4 objects, find me 10 objects, depending on how they, the time that you have to spend and how interested they are in that game. Puzzles. Puzzles are always an interest area for many of our students or for our children. And puzzles give parents a time to, if it's a puzzle that they can do independently, which is where you want to go with puzzles or activities that you to do, they give you a few minutes of time to either sit down or get the kitchen sink cleaned or cook dinner or whatever. So you can order puzzles online. There's still places around town you can get puzzles, order them, they'll bring them to your house. But you can also make your own puzzles, like a front of a cereal box. I thought about when I was throwing one the other day, oh, I could just cut that up and they could put that together if that's their favorite cereal. You can print out pictures from Google. If you happen to have a laminating machine, you can laminate those and cut them up and put a puzzle together. You can take a picture of your child and they can put that puzzle together. There's just a lot of different ways that you can make puzzles and do that. As I was also looking for material, there are 2 great YouTube sites I found for experiments that maybe you've already found these, but these are ones that I had not seen before. But the old volcano experiment with baking soda, vinegar, and water. You can get 30 minutes of fun out of this one, and you're teaching while you're doing it. We're talking about science. We can talk about dinosaurs, what the volcanoes did, sinking and floating, get objects in a bowl, fill the bathtub or sink with water, or get a tub that has water in, and make a guess. Make a guess, is this object going to sink or float? And just have them drop them in there. You can make a chart to use, because charts are something that we learn how to do throughout our education career, and you can add up the numbers of things that sink or float. There's just a lot of different things that you can do with that. Measuring. Many of our kids love to measure, so you can get out the rulers, the yardsticks, the tape measures, and have them go around and measure different things, write down what they're measuring and write down how long it is. So now they're working on writing, but they're not knowing that they're working on writing. So there's a lot of different fun things on here. There's one about, I'm not sure exactly how you do it, but making crystallized eggs that look pretty exciting to me. So this example is, cooking is just a great activity, and I was thinking about pizza. So just making pizza, what do you learn from making, what can you learn from making pizza? Well, first of all, you learn a life skill. You learn how to cook something for yourself that when you're older, that would be very, or even now, would be helpful. Math, how many pieces are there? The shape, how many pieces are there in that pizza? Or how many people do I have and how many pieces do I need to cut my pizza into? The shapes that are there, the triangle, the circle, or we don't always cut our pizza into triangles. There's a young man that I worked with out in Nebraska a long time ago, and we had him at a teach training, and we were cutting our pizza into circles, but at home, his pizza was always cut into squares. So we found out that that was how we needed to cut our pizza during that training. Reading, you're reading the directions on the box if you're using box pizza mixes, or on a recipe that you've written down. Science, why does cheese melt? Why does dough rise? History, where's the country of origin of pizza? How did it get its name? And you can use video modeling to video model the process of making the pizza, so the kids can watch that and see how it's done. And then you can incorporate and talk about all these things that are happening during that time. So next time you make a pizza, think about all those things. Here's some books I wanted to share as well. Just if people are looking for books out there to help pass the time. And these books tie into executive functioning, which is an area that in the last, I suppose, 10 years that we've really come to know more about and talk about more in the schools, and it helps our understanding with what's going on with our students and children. So Oh No, George is a great little book, and it talks about emotional regulation, and it is all about, so if you have somebody that really likes dogs, so here's George, and George, he's going to be good, but then he sees the chocolate cake, and oh no, George, what's he do? He eats it. But in the end, George learns to have that emotional control. So that's a nice book. The Personal Space Camp and It's Hard to Be a Verb are books by Julia Cook. She's written a lot of good books for kids to learn about different things. My favorite probably is I'm a Booger, Treat Me with Respect. If you don't have that in your library, it's one you might want to consider purchasing to help if you've got a student or a child that really likes to pick the nose. So that's another reference. The Busy Beaver is also about emotional regulation, how he just kind of bugged all his friends. He chopped down all the trees and made a mess and didn't really think about anybody else but himself until he was injured. And then he learned a really good lesson and was able to go back and fix it. So it talks about the behavior, but it talks about how to fix it. Mr. Forgetful is about attention and focusing. It's hard. And then Lacey Walker, Nonstop Talker. We have a lot of those, and it's about response inhibition, how to, Lacey learned when she got a sore throat, she couldn't talk anymore, how important it was to be a good listener. So those are just some really fun books out there to think about if this is something your child is needing help with. This book, I love this book. And it's for adults. It's written by an adult, autistic adult, and she wrote it to help individuals with autism achieve independence, live more comfortable and satisfying lives. And I just think that is a great way, just a great way to think about it. That's what we're really trying to help people. We're not trying to change people. We're trying to help them achieve those things. And she talks about topics from maintaining a home to dating to jobs to all kinds of things. And adults on the spectrum can use this for a self-help book, self-reference book. Parents can use it to help their older children with all these areas. And parents of younger children, I would get this book and read it about because these are going to come up in your child's lifetime. And I just love this book. She's done a really nice job, and she's got a nice foreword by Temple Grandin in it. So please check that book out. So I made it in 1 hour and 2 minutes, which I didn't think I would, but I just wanted to say to take care and stay safe, and also that many of you have strategies of home that have worked for your families. And I really appreciate it if you could share these with us and you send in your emails, we can build on our resource list. Okay.
I just muted everyone, so if anyone has some questions.
Okay. Any questions?
One question, Sue, in the chat box is, it says that you mentioned Octonauts. That is my son's obsession. This is great. Any resources for Octonauts would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, all right. Actually, I can, all right, will you send me her email? Or?
Yeah, I can.
You're right. Octonauts are my grandchildren in Missouri's obsession right now, and I made them a Yeti crab. That's part of the Octonauts. I know a lot about Octonauts, so that'll be an easy one. Is someone?
Are there any other questions?
Or any things that we didn't cover today that you would like more help with? I hope that you're all doing as well as you can out there, and you know, get a hold of us. We're here to help in any way we can. And if you need some materials or whatever, contact us, I can help with those. And thank you for
Yeah. And please,
giving us your time today.
yeah, and please put your email address in the chat room if you would like the list of resources, and we can email that to you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
I don't know what's going on at the tablet, but you read homework in it.
Sue, somebody also has in the chat room, great job. This would also be helpful to share with Gen Ed teachers where you broke it down to make it easy and manageable to use in the classroom, and then send out the link to the YouTube video. We'll do that as soon as that. We have to wait till it comes off of the cloud.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yes, it was fun to do. I'm glad that I was able to help with some things. So thank you. Yes?
Awesome.
I can't tell, Chris, if there's any questions or people
Just sending their
emails.
Oh, here's another one that wants the Octonauts information too. So I'll put that by her name.
Wow, that's pretty popular.
Yeah.
You like Aquanauts? I don't know. But
Octonauts is still on. It's still on Netflix. All the shows are on there right now. But there's some books. My daughter owns this bookstore in Iowa City, and so she's got a couple of Octonaut books that she's sent down to her nieces and nephews. So that's how we're connected with the Octonauts right now.
The ones that the magnet like guys that you like, you got it. What are those called? You got one at
What does it look like?
Do they have a TV show?
The TV show? Or...
No, we're on mute, honey.
No, I can hear you, Nicole.
Oh gosh. Hey, hi.
Hey, I can hear you.
Whoops.
That's okay.
I've got Pattison here.
Hi, Pattison.
We don't have the camera on.
No, I can hear you though. So.
Don't, Pattison. Stop.
Well, if you think about what it is, Pattison, later, your mom can email me.
Yeah, it's like a little transformer with magnets. He got one at 4 Oaks and he just loved it. And I forgot what it was called. And it was really neat.
Send me a picture of it. Or do you have a picture of it? No.
No. It was that little guy it was a little guy and you could convert it to other things.
Transformers?
It was like a transformer, but it was not a transformer. And it was green and gray, and you kind of fidgeted with it. It was about this big.
Oh, no.
Sue, there's also a question. Do you happen to have any resources for any of the Disney princesses?
I don't have that right now, but let me look, okay?
Okay.
I know a Disney princess puzzle because I bought one of those just not too long ago. So
okay, sounds good. Thanks for returning my call. Good luck during this time. I know it's trying. Bye-bye.
all right, are there any other, Chris, are you just sending me all those questions? And
I think those are the only, yeah, I've written them. Yes, I have written them.
You have their emails though, right?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Is the person still on with the Disney princess question? Okay, why don't you unmute? Who is it?
Her name, it's Sarah.
Sarah? The Disney's princess, there's a very cool pullout. Princesses, I don't child, so I don't know what level. But if you Google that, there are a lot of resources out there about just coloring sheets that you can pull off online, or if you don't have access to that, let us know and we can help you with that. I know, like the one book I talked about, Lacey Walker, Nonstop Talker, when I was looking at it today, there's a teaching lesson set up on Pinterest about that. So once you start searching around, there's a lot of information out there that we don't have to create if we can just print it or get a hard copy of it somewhere that's for free.
My favorite Disney princess is Brave.
Brave is a good one.
Yes, she's my favorite.
This?
I've actually seen that one, so.
So Sarah just said thank you.
You're welcome, Sarah. And Sarah, I can send you the link to the puzzle and any other information that I can find. So.
This, yeah.
Okay.
She just sent her. Thanks, Sarah. We got your email, and I'll give it to Sue.
Okay. Good. All right.
Thanks, Rochelle.
That
It's
was awesome. Thank you very much, Sue. That was wonderful.
You're welcome. And
it's called a Bakugan. Bakugan.
what is it? A Bakugan?
Yeah, Bakugan. That's from Nicole.
Thank you, Bakugan. Okay, and I forgot to, do we have cat lovers out there? Because if we do, my next activity today is playing Catopoly. So there's a Monopoly game called Catopoly that's out there too. So that's another fun game to add to your list. Okay.
So, Iris Missing Fire, Oculus.
Are there any other questions or anybody else that wanted to share their email address to get information? All right. Thanks, everybody. I'll go ahead and end the meeting then. Sue, are you ready to end?
Yes, I'm ready to end. Yep.
Perfect. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.